Hello, welcome to the European Parliament in Strasbourg for Talking Europe. I'm Catherine Nicholson. Now, it has been a week where Europe and France's role within it have been headline news. The French President Emmanuel Macron visiting this Parliament to explain what he wants to achieve between now and the end of June as France holds the 6-month rotating presidency of the European Council. Well, among his priorities are issues including, of course, climate change, Brexit, relations with Russia, but also migration, a hot topic in France with the presidential election coming up in April. With us to give us his take on that issue and other major issues for the EU, European Commission Vice President Margaritis Schinas. He is the Commissioner from Greece, also in charge particularly of the Promoting the European Way of Life portfolio, which contains major responsibilities including migration and asylum, as well as security, equality and diversity matters in the EU. Mr. Schinas, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
First then, let's just briefly speak about the French presidency of the EU Council. It was a very energetic start, I think we can say, at the European Parliament. There were some forceful rebuttals from political opponents to Mr. Macron on some of his plans. This is also a French presidency of the EU Council that's happening at the same time as a French domestic presidential election. Given that timing, given that domestic pressure, do you expect this presidency to deliver for Europe?
Actually, I do, because I think this is a European presidency to be taken over by a very European France. The team that will run the presidency, they are real believers in Europe. You know, they are determined to make a difference. And I think, well, I expect them to work the engine room as much as they can in the first 3 months of the presidency. Then inevitably there will be a stop for the election. And then there are 2 full months from May to July to wrap up the program. Yes, so and the President's speech today in Parliament was a very clear, tangible proof of their willingness, their commitment to make a difference.
Well, one of the issues that I mentioned just in my introduction that was well flagged up by France even before this presidency began was President Macron talking about reforming migration, reforming the Schengen zone, so reinforcing external borders as well as looking at the rules inside the zone. There is already a migration pact on the table, as you know well, because you were behind it. No movement on it, though, at the head of state level for more than a year. Is this message from President Macron a signal to you that he wants this work to be done again, overhauled? What do you think?
I think that there are 2 different sets of proposals now on the table. One, as you rightly point out, is the pact, I mean the package of legislative proposals that form the migration pact for asylum. We had slow progress so far, and the pandemic didn't help. This is the sort of negotiation where ministers need to see eye to eye. We didn't have that. So I very much hope now that there is a certain convergence again around the priorities of the pact, and there is a separate package of proposal, which is our Schengen package, which is we tabled last December. And there the idea is to have, to learn the lessons of the pandemic and leave internal controls only as a measure of last resort, make sure that we typify in law the example of instrumentalization of migratory flows. So I expect the French to work on both tracks, both on the pact and on Schengen, and let's see where they take us at the end of the 6-month period.
Now, there's perhaps a signal that from the French president that relations with the UK are seen as being quite difficult at this point. He mentioned that in his speech, talking about needing to rebuild trust with the British government. A particular issue of contention has been migration, irregular migration between France and England across the English Channel. Now, the UK government has directed its border and coast guards to turn back boats of people trying to cross irregularly, which some, including France's Europe Minister Clément Beaune, has told us on this programme that this amounts to illegal pushbacks under international law. Would you agree with that?
Let's first see where we're coming from. In Europe, we would very much have hoped to have a chapter in our divorce arrangements with the United Kingdom on migration and asylum. We proposed it, we asked for it, and unfortunately our British friends at the time did not think of migration as a priority. Now that we see the situation in the Channel, they start to understand the added value of a chapter of cooperation in our partnership agreement, which is not there anymore. So we have now to work, as you rightly pointed out, to rebuild trust that would allow us to cooperate on migration into the new post-Brexit arrangement, and at the same time, and that's also equally important, to make sure that in the absence of such an agreement, no unilateral measures are taken from either part, because simply by taking such measures, you push the problem to the other side, and that's unacceptable.
Just in terms of integrating migration into the evolving Brexit relationship, as you say, is that something that currently the British government is open to doing, or is that a wish coming from the European Commission side?
Well, I mean, I would like to use the occasion to make a plea for clarity. Actually, we don't really know if this is a genuine commitment to engage in something that the British did not like to engage in when we were discussing the partnership agreement, or it's a safe-facing formula to cope with the increasing difficulties across the Channel. So I would very much like to know what's behind this. And in any case, we at the Commission will be very always ready and to engage and find practical solutions.
Just in terms of the situation as it stands, there was a record number of irregular crossings between France and England in 2021, some 28,000 people. Many in the UK government believe that France isn't doing enough to stop people making this voyage. And just in the last few days, we've had news that Downing Street has been looking into the idea of using long-range acoustic devices, a sort of sonic instrument, to force migrants to turn around in the Channel. Is that a measure that could be acceptable?
No, that would be a very bad idea, and that would fall under this category of unilateral measures I was referring to earlier that do not solve any problem. They simply push the problem around or push it to the other side. There is a problem in the Channel. Part is the responsibility of the post-Brexit reality, but also it's due to the fact that we haven't yet this agreement on the Pact for Migration and Asylum that creates these secondary movements within the European Union. We need a European agreement on the Pact, and that would put in order many of these flows that we're now seeing here and there.
On that type of sonic instrument or weapon, some calling it. Last summer, Greek authorities tested the same kind of devices in the Mediterranean. You said it would be unacceptable for the British to use it. Would the Commission tell Athens that this is not acceptable, it should not be put into operation?
My understanding is that this system has not been put in operation in Greece. It has been tested, as you rightly say, and under no circumstances it has been financed by the Commission.
Just sticking with Greece, obviously your home country and a country that's so much on the front line of irregular migration. It's emerged in recent days that Greece is starting a new police programme involving scanning the faces and fingerprints of individuals to gather biometric data on quite a big scale, cross-check it across databases, including police, immigration, but also private databases. This programme is getting 75% of its funding from the European Commission, but it has been criticised by, for example, Human Rights Watch, which claims that it's inconsistent with Greek law and European law. Does the European Commission stand by this programme?
Yes, I think there is a misunderstanding around this programme. I have seen the reports because the databases that are used for these programs are not new at all. Are databases that are totally legal. They are already in existence and they are already used. What changes is the technology that would allow access to these databases from portable devices, which is something that we have an interest to promote because it allows for law enforcement in real time. So I understand that all data protection guarantees and legal guarantees are in place. And under those circumstances, this new measure refers to new databases or new data. These are databases that are already in use. It's the technology only that changes.
Well, although one of the issues is that this does vastly increase the scope and the possibility for police to collect biometric data about people and hold it even if it's just for a few days. Human Rights Watch concerned, that this could exacerbate the number of stops and checks on people who are disproportionately targeted from ethnic minorities, social minority groups. The Hellenic Data Protection Authority has been investigating the lawfulness of this. If it is found to go against the law, what will the Commission do?
Well, as a matter of principle, I would like to go into if questions. The situation, as far as I know, and I specifically requested information around this because I saw the reports, is that the only new thing in this measure is the technology. It's not the databases, it's not the legal guarantees for data protection.
But you would be prepared to review it if there was a ruling that this was
What we are financing is the technology that allows for access to these established databases through portable devices. And of course, as it's always the case with measures that are financed by the European Union, we will be monitoring very closely the situation as it develops.
Margaritis Schinas, thank you very much for speaking to us on Talking Europe.
Thank you.
Thanks to you for watching as well. Do stay with us. Part 2 of the programme coming up very shortly.